Notre Dame's relationship with the Big Ten is a complicated one. The Fighting Irish have attempted to join the conference, they have been wooed to join the conference, and they have been a member of another conference throughout the past century and a half. After it was announced that Texas and Oklahoma were going to join the SEC, it looked inevitable that the Big Ten would look to expand themselves. Many in Big Ten country felt like Notre Dame and the Big Ten would make up and come together for the crazy television revenue, yet that still has not happened. Notre Dame fits the Big Ten, geographically, historically, traditionally, and even academically. When I first set out to make this video, I thought it was going to be a basic video of why it would and wouldn't make sense. But as I dove deeper and deeper, it turned into the complicated history of Notre Dame and the Big Ten. Something I will admit I never truly understood. So let's put on our detective hats and dive into the history of Notre Dame and the Big Ten Conference. The relationship between Notre Dame and the Big Ten Conference goes back to November of 1887. The Michigan football team was traveling to play Northwestern in Chicago for a Thanksgiving game. While the Wolverines waited for their train, they taught some Notre Dame students in South Bend how to play the game of football. The initial olive branch of friendship would soon wilt in the heat of competition, rivalry, and oftentimes mutual resentment. The Western Conference, which would later become the Big Ten, was formed in 1895, and Michigan was one of the charter members. Other original members included Illinois, Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Chicago, with Indiana and Iowa joining in 1899, Ohio State in 1912, and Michigan State in 1950. In 1899 alone, the Irish would score moral victories and hard-fought losses against Chicago and Fielding Yost's Michigan squads, along with victories over Northwestern and Indiana, and a tie against Purdue. When the Western Conference was formed, Notre Dame immediately applied to join, but was rejected. According to Murray Spearber, author of Shakedown the Thunder, the member schools claimed that the university's division was not large or serious enough, and also because of a vague player eligibility rule. In response, Notre Dame revised its player eligibility requirements to match those of the Western Conference. After the conference accepted Indiana and Iowa in 1908, they applied again, and were rejected again. This frustrated Notre Dame, with Chairman of Athletic Board Thomas Crumley saying it had been fought on theological rather than athletic grounds. After the most recent rejection, Notre Dame faced Fielding Yost and Michigan in 1909, having never beaten the Wolverines, losing the first 8 contests by a combined score of 121-10. The Irish were coached by Frank Shorty Longman, a former star under Yost, earlier in the decade, and Notre Dame shocked Michigan 11-3. The first use of the Fighting Irish moniker came after the game, with the Detroit Free Press writing, "11 Fighting Irishmen wrecked the Yost machine that afternoon." Yost did not take the loss very well and made some claims about Notre Dame's team and canceled the 1910 game with Notre Dame 24 hours before kickoff. Yost was instrumental in the entire Western Conference boycotting Notre Dame, which Crick hypothesized was to show the conference that the Catholics were the real dredge of athletic society, not Michigan. The Western Conference boycott left Notre Dame football in a tough situation. They played teams like Ohio Northern, St. Viator, Butler, Loyola of Chicago, Pittsburgh, St. Bonaventure, Wabash, Marquette, Adrian, Morris Harvey, and St. Louis, going undefeated in 1911 and 1912. According to Sports Illustrated's Andrew McDonough, the time in Exile resulted in 2 changes at Notre Dame. First, the fan base became more hardened than ever in independence, but second, the Notre Dame faculty board decided to institute and enforce the Western Conference eligibility rules again, and brought in Jesse Harper as football coach and athletic director. The decision to adopt the standard eligibility rules loosened the boycott everywhere except Ann Arbor. The school began to take pride of its independence, playing schools like Penn State, Texas, and Army in 1913. They shocked the world when they beat Army 35-13, putting the football team on the map for good. Throughout the 1920s, Notre Dame racked up victories and championships. McDonough writes, though Yost could never convince his fellow Big Ten members to stop playing the Irish in football again, he did succeed in blocking one final Notre Dame attempt to join the Big Ten in 1926. Again, Spearber's Shakedown the Thunder described how Yost and Amos Alonzo Stagg from Chicago fed a steady diet of unsubstantiated rumors to the press and hardened opposition to the Notre Dame bid. When Notre Dame was officially rejected, the faculty secretary, Professor J.E. McCarthy, shook hands with the Michigan faculty rep, with whom he commented he engaged, but for a moment, in a handclasp of hatred and glare of defiance. The university finally realized after the 3rd rejection in 3 decades of dismissal, hostility, prejudice, and rejection that enough was enough, and the Irish independent spirit forced Notre Dame to become the only national program in college football. I just want to take a second and ask, if you are enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like Subscribe for more college football content. Also, let me know what your dream college football realignment scenario is in the comment section below. Notre Dame embraced the national schedule, and despite continuing to play regularly against Big Ten teams, especially Purdue and Michigan State, Notre Dame would never again be constrained by the Midwest. Notre Dame became a national brand, playing at least one game on the West Coast and the service academies in historical stadiums like Yankee Stadium. The term Subway alumni was created to describe fans who did not attend the school and had never set foot on the campus yet became diehard supporters. From 1930 to 1990, the Fighting Irish claimed 9 national titles and reset the college football media landscape in 1991 when they signed a revolutionary 5-year, $38 million national NBC television contract beginning in the 1991 season. Enter Jim Delaney, who became the commissioner of the Big Ten in 1989. At the time, the Big Ten was the most powerful conference in the country and added Penn State to the conference for the 1990 season. The move expanded the Big Ten's reach to the East Coast, but the conference was still one team short of the required 12-team membership to hold a conference title game. If the Big Ten were to add a 12th team, it would cause a major boost in television revenue for the conference, so Delaney approached Notre Dame for the first time in 1994. The Irish were coming off a decade of dominance and quickly declined the Big Ten offer. McDonough writes, after the luster had worn off from the Lou Holtz years, Delaney and the Big Ten again offered Notre Dame conference membership in 1998. And this time the university said it would evaluate the pros and cons of membership. What the Big Ten failed to realize was what being an independent school had done for the university. Notre Dame became an independent out of necessity, but turned the tough situation into, well, a golden one, leaving an indelible mark on the university, the alumni, and fans, a mark that can never be measured by dollar signs. According to then Alumni Associate Director Charles Lennon, 99.5% of the members were against joining the Big Ten. Students agreed with chants of no Big Ten often heard at basketball games, as in additional to the cultural and athletic arguments against the Big Ten membership, there was concerns that conference membership would lead to the de-emphasis on Notre Dame's undergraduate programs. Notre Dame would have been forced to join the Committee for Institutional Cooperation, CIC, an academic consortium of Big Ten schools focused on faculty and student exchange and grant sharing in graduate programs. Interestingly enough, the Notre Dame Faculty Senate supported joining the CIC. Notre Dame President Edward Monk Malloy made his argument against joining the Big Ten, saying, just as the University of Michigan or Wisconsin or Illinois have core identities as the flagship university of their states, so does Notre Dame have a core identity, and at the core are these characteristics: Catholic, private, independent. As a Catholic university with a national constituency, we believe independence continues to be our best way forward. There was a unanimous vote to decline the invitation. Since then, there really hasn't been real pushes from either side to have the Irish join the conference. Although they play 5 ACC schools in football per year, which is because the conference decided to leave the Big East to join the ACC for all sports, but football, they look to continue being an independent school. McDonough wrote back in 2021, Jack Schwarbrick served on the 4-person committee that recommended college football playoff expansion to 12 teams, and indicated that the price of remaining independent was to give up the chance of ever getting a bye, and he and the university were fine with that. Yet, I hold out the hope as a Wisconsin Badger alum, we will see Notre Dame playing in the Big Ten one day. It will bring back some amazing rivalry games, have an addition of a big-name school, join the conference, and the insane television deal that may come with it. The Big Ten takes pride in how their academic institutions are viewed, and although Notre Dame is not a part of the AAU, they are viewed as one of the best academic institutions in the United States. If Notre Dame were to join a conference, I just feel like the best fit is the Big Ten more than any other conference. There is a possibility that with the ACC deal, they could not join another conference in football until 2036, but because they are a private school, that information is not public. It seems unlikely that Notre Dame will join the Big Ten anytime soon. I went into this video thinking that I was going to make a slam dunk argument for Notre Dame to the Big Ten, but after researching it, I feel like my opinion has changed. Notre Dame is an independent school, and they take pride in that. So much pride that the television contracts aren't a reason to lose that. What do you think? Should Notre Dame join a conference, and if so, which conference? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more college football content, and check out one of my other videos the algorithm knows you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.